Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the pre-market prep session for May 11th, 2023. This being our daily session where we go over any and all information necessary to keep you consistently profitable here across these ever volatile markets. I'm your host, Adam Holland, stock options expert market strategist. If you don't already, make sure to go ahead and follow, subscribe here on YouTube, follow on Instagram at Adam Holland Educates, where I do the most of my work, and then follow on TikTok as well. What else? Do we have anything like major in terms of house cleaning? Oh yeah, the ones, of course. Yes, good morning, Vivian. Good morning, Tristan. Good morning, Coco. Good morning. In terms of those ones, right? If you're joining us new, I know a lot of people now have to watch via replay just because of work schedule, whatever. Make sure the replay, drop those ones in the chat. Why are we doing those ones? To keep attention of getting 1% better, right? That's why we come to this arena. We invest into ourselves, right, in order to get progressively better each and every day. Doesn't have to be crazy, doesn't have to be life-changing, right? You invest in yourself. You make that consistent, and then you start to see amazing things happen, right? So welcome. That is our goal. It's not an insurmountable goal. It's one that is very easily achieved, right? Through experiences, through putting in the work. And that's something that we look to do each and every day. So that's what we're big on here, the 1% crew. Carla, good morning. Carla, the style queen, right? Every time I see Carla, she's got the style, the fits. She's dressed to the nines. So good morning, Carla. I can't see you, but I'm sure whatever you're wearing, you're putting on a clinic right now in terms of style. Let's go ahead and pull up the news that we have going on for today. I had a busy morning myself, but a good morning. Usually I've committed myself to alternating between the running and then the heavy lifting. And today I had to get in both running and heavy lifting because I'm not going to lie, yesterday I got back, had some running around to do, and then I had some calls to take, and then I had to go grab a Mother's Day gift, and I was in the mall. I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I was weak. I was smelling that Cinnabon, and I got a Cinnabon. Now I did split it. Bailey and I, we were bad together. So I did split the Cinnabon, but once I looked up kind of how many calories were in a large Cinnabon, I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna double up and do the lift on top of the run as well. So feeling really good, really kind of revved up this morning, got in the 3 miles. Didn't feel like I was coughing up blood. So that was awesome, right? Once you kind of get past that hump, you can get a little bit better in terms of like your running and your pace and everything. But put in that 3 miles, got in, right? Put in that workout down there, throwing the weights around. And very, very proud of what I've gotten done today. And the bell hasn't even rung yet. So those are the types of days that you want to have where you're already executing, you're already revved up, you're already ready to go. Paul, good morning. Yes, Alicia, good morning. Carla, no problem. And other than that, let's go ahead and dive into what we got going on today here. And we're going to start off with our top news down to the border. So it has been called a humanitarian crisis, an economic crisis, and a national security crisis as the border policy known as Title 42 comes to an end today. President Biden has even warned that the border will probably be, quote, chaotic for a while, and has sent an additional 1,500 active duty troops there to help with the fallout. A significant surge in migration and illegal border crossings is expected, while lengthier processing times may result in dangerous overcrowding inside Border Patrol stations. Now, backdrop, Title 42 is part of the Public Health Service Act, which was enacted by FDR in 1942. The measure was intended to suspend entries and imports from designated places to prevent the spread of communicable diseases like tuberculosis, which was a big health concern at the time. It was later invoked in 2020 during the coronavirus pandemic and essentially suspended immigration at U.S. land borders by expelling many migrants who crossed the border illegally with the intention to ask for asylum or without proper documentation. Publicly traded operators of illegal immigration detention centers, Core Civic, ticker CXW, and GEO Group, ticker GEO, are in the spotlight on the news, climbing 2.5% and 1% respectively in the pre-market session. The Title 42 reversal is expected to result in more migrants entering the U.S. to claim asylum and could result in additional people being detained by immigration and customs enforcement. Others point to the stock's flagging performance over the past years or political and risk lawsuits, while some even distinguish between the two companies, like analyst Double S Capital in the Seeking Alpha article, short Core Civic against GEO, both an alpha source and a natural hedge. So GEO, a stock that we made significant profit off of last year. They just have to deal with prisons and detention centers. And while I didn't know that this was part of their operations, it makes sense. It's in line with what they do. Overall, right, the reason behind the GEO trade for last year, right, we had a stock trade, we had long swings, both of them paid handsomely. But the reason behind that trade was because inflation rising, cost of living going up, layoffs, crime will increase. So as a result, you got more people in jail, jail stocks go up. So that was kind of the meaning behind that GEO call for last year. So it's been a bit since we've seen that ticker, but now we have them kind of rising back up in news. And then let's see here. Yeah, it looks like Core Civic, some analysts aren't liking as much. I have not done any deals or trading with them. But kind of a spot here where we see GEO back in the news. I'm not one to commentate on what goes on the border, right? Again, we're here to talk about stocks. Otherwise, I'd go and I'd start a humanitarian podcast or a podcast on politics, but that's not what I do, right? That's not what I live stream about. I live stream about stocks, assets, and financial instruments, right? So that's what we're focusing on here today. But yeah, overall, just, kind of something else on the plate of the president, which just makes me so grateful that I'm not the president, right? It's really nice to, be responsible for yourself and not like millions of people, really billions, who all want different things and all think that their feelings are the most important, right? That would literally suck so badly. But going deeper, going into effect will be tougher deportation consequences under Title VIII immigration law, a parole program with rigorous background checks, as well as higher standards for asylum seekers, like forcing them to request protection in third countries on their way to the border. There are also plans to open dozens of regional processing facilities in Latin America and push people to use the notably backlogged CPB-1 app for streamlining appointments at ports of entry. Quote, I think that there is no question that this is going to be extremely challenging, said Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Quote, I do not want to understate the severity of the challenge that we expect to encounter. So yeah, overall, what else is new? Issues at the border, but this Title 42 coming to an end today. Looks like we'll start to see even more, even more of a cacophonous situation, right? Just a crazy situation at the border. So, we'll kind of keep an eye on that, keep a thumb on the pulse of that situation here as we move forward. In terms of financials, overnight stock trading. Now, this is big news. I threw this on the story as well. Might throw up a reel today. While Robinhood, ticker HOOD, has called for an quote, even larger window of available trading hours over a year ago, the company is finally moving forward with the plans. Of course, Robinhood wants this because, Robinhood has constructed their app like you construct a casino, right? Robinhood has constructed their app in order to literally make it addictive, right? They've taken the CEO, right, and all the developers at Robinhood studied casinos. And if you notice, pretty much every element of a casino is incorporated into Robinhood, right? And now they want to do around-the-clock trading as well. Why do they want to do that? The longer you stay in the casino, the more chance you have of giving it back your money, right? That's why they want to keep you there as long as possible. It doesn't say whether or not they are allowing option trading to go on 24 hours a day, but I will not be there, right? I will not be there to do that. Neither should you, to be completely honest, right? The longer you stay in markets is the larger chance you give that money back. Not to mention that the majority of the volume will still happen during normal trading hours. So you trying to be involved with trading after hours is going to be tough because there's not a lot of volume. It's just not going to be kind of crazy movement. But it was pretty cool, right? Just to kind of see that development, that is a thing. Will I be indulging in it? No. And I think that's what's super important is that markets are literally an arena of the infinite. Humans do not deal in the arena of the infinite, right? That is beyond our comprehension. That is beyond our understanding. We need to make the infinite finite. That's why we have numbers. That's why we have measurement systems. That's why we measure things in terms of time. Our lives are finite. Our understanding is finite, right? So when we talk about kind of operating in markets and things like that, what you need to be focused on is making your understanding or making your interaction with the markets as limited and as meticulously planned as possible, right? You want to really make it finite. That's why we have a system, right? That's why we have, cut a play at 40%, exit at this price target, right? That's why we have those rules. That's why, once you hit your goal, you can be in and out, right? You can be done because you need to place those rules so that you're not giving your money back, right? You need to place boundaries on yourself because if anyone was in the market nonstop, they would not be profitable, right? Because it's just you increase your chances of you hitting a dud trade, right? And you can take high quality setups. Everyone wants to. The majority of the time they pay. But if you go ahead and you take every possible setup and you're doing that 24 hours a day, you increase your chances of blowing up your account. So that's kind of my take on the overnight stock trading. I will not be doing any such thing. We won't have a middle of the night pre-market session, right, or post-market session, right? None of that is coming for me. I'm gonna stick to the exact same thing that I've been doing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? On an earnings call, see, but just to take a poll, I think it would be cool. Who would take advantage of trading stocks overnight? Throw a 6 in the chat if you would trade stocks overnight. Throw a 7 in the chat if you would just stick to doing what you do during the day. I'm just curious to see kind of how you guys feel, because I've stated my opinion, but some people are night owls, right? A lot of people, like, they just, they only operate during the nighttime. They trade, futures, they trade Forex, they do a lot of that. All right, so it looks like we got 1-6. Yeah, not too many people is looking like. But yeah, for the one, and there may be more. They might just not want to say anything, but overall, if that's your thing, awesome. But just make sure that it does not affect your routines, right? And that's what's most important. Is that I feel like a lot of people, especially people who come to me and they're like, I trade Forex, I'm trying to do something else. A lot of that staying up late contributes to a negative routine, right? And that can make it really, really tough in order to wake up, journal, pray, work out, whatever you need to do in order to get your head right to attack the morning. You can't really do that if most people can't if you stay up really, really late at night. So that's kind of another qualm that I have with the overnight, trading and things like that. Is just, if I wake up tired, I'm not going to be able to execute during the time when the most volume is happening in markets. So let's see here. On an earnings call, CEO Vlad Tenev announced that his firm would be the first U.S. retail brokerage to offer 24/5 trading of a list of 40 well-known stocks and ETFs, and will look to expand from there. Activity is typically thin during current extended trading hours, which can start as early as 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and end at 8 p.m. But the move may give a new impetus to Robinhood shares, which have only gone south since the company's IPO in mid-2021. Another reason why Adam never buys IPOs, right? Never buy an IPO. You can always get it at a better price. Every single stock, I don't care how hyped it is. Warren Buffett was invested in Snowflake, right? In snow, even snow, you could have gotten at a better price than the IPO price. So never buy an IPO. The stock rose 5% in after hours trading following results that beat estimates and upbeat guidance, though after hours and pre-market may soon become terms of the past. Will I have to rebrand from Premarket Prep to something else? I don't know. We'll see. But pretty big news, right? Pretty big news, and great news for Robinhood, so they become even more like a casino than they were before. They already had the, confetti when you place a trade, and the gamification of investing that really led to people thinking of investing as more like a game than a skill that you hone and you acquire. And that was unfortunate because it got a lot of people, got their butts handed to them last year when they found out that that's not how normal markets go, right? In terms of economic news here, inflation report, stocks mostly gained yesterday after April CPI data, which showed the pace of inflation rising 4.9% year over year, a hair under the 5.0% expected. I thought it came right in line with 5%. So I don't know. Maybe they're looking at, some different data, and I got no idea. But I thought it came right in line with expectations. Either way, right around expectations. And slightly easing from the March increase of 5.0% core inflation. Also eased slightly while cooling the super core CPI, comprised of core services excluding shelter, may have further encouraged market participants. Quote, it was a decent report, but nothing to write home about. The recent demand-related decline in commodity prices has helped tremendously, said Seeking Alpha analyst Leo Nellison. Quote, although we have passed the peak of inflation and are experiencing disinflation, the momentum of the decline is losing steam. As a result, the Fed has a justification for pausing its hikes, as investors had already predicted due to the ongoing economic weakness. So overall, right, we got CPI data in line with what we expected yesterday. We talked about that. We talked about how we have to wait to see how the markets reacted. We were bordering on an hourly breakout to start the day on SPY, but again, we've been weak all week. So it wasn't something that we're really counting on, but we did not get that hourly close over. We remained patient, right, in order to walk through what happened yesterday. We remained patient. We got some selling, right? You could have hopped in on some puts. Didn't really give me much time to call that out. But then we bounced on one of those pre-market levels, right? We talked about drawing out relevant levels pre-market during the challenge, the last challenge that we had. Those challenges have supremely important and relevant information when it comes to especially choppy markets like what we've seen recently, right? Those pre-market levels play a big role. So we dropped to one of those pre-market levels, we bounced. When we drop on heavy volume and then we bounce, the first thing you need to be looking for is a bear flag. Always remember that. The first thing you need to be looking for is a bear flag. So what you do, take that local high, take that local low, throw the fibs on them. Where is that line in the sand, right? If we top out at that level, we put in a shooting star at that level, get puts. That's exactly what happened. You know how much those puts paid for? 100%, right? 100%. Boom. You put $200 in that play, right? You make your $400 for the day, right? You made your $400 for the day. You're in, you're out, whatever. You put $400 in that play, right? Which you can do. Anybody, you can put $200 in a play, right? That's not a whole lot of money. You can put $200 in a play, right? You got your $400 for the day. And then you're done, right? One trade. So we had that nice bear flag, came down and fired. Cool, awesome. Now, at this point, I also noticed we got a channel going on. Channels have been supremely profitable for us for the past few months. Now, yesterday, they definitely pulled some shenanigans with this channel, right? So normally when the channel breaks out, you'll either break straight out or you'll come out, you'll come back down, retest the channel, and then go. Now, I had to hop on the road yesterday. I ended up being away from the desk for the majority of the second half of the day, right? From pretty much 12:30 on to like 3:30. Still didn't make it back to like 5, but I got to check things around 3:30. And it was just every alert in every direction had gone off. My alerts to the downside had all gone off. My alerts to the upside had all gone off. And I didn't have reception where I was at. So I got out and it was just ding, 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 ding. And I was like, wow, what is going on? And so when we had the descending channel, right, the descending parallel channel, normally that breaks. And what? You get calls, right? Once that breaks, you get calls. They paid. They paid literally the last 5 times we've done this, paid handsomely. This time we come back down where we retrace that breakout, right, from the channel. Normally that's a good spot. Last time I checked, we had a double bottom that was forming out. Cool, awesome. Get calls. You can hold those calls. At the point in which the double bottom for my people who struggled yesterday, right? Because I got a number of mixed reports afterwards. Some people were like, hey, flip to puts when we fired the bear flag, made money off the puts. Some people stopped. They were like, hey, I didn't want to trade while you weren't there to ask questions. So I just stopped with the first trade, took the 50%, took the 100%. Awesome. Then other people were like, hey, made money off the calls because I held them. Then other people just got back in calls when they saw the hourly hammer. So there was a lot of stuff that went on yesterday because it was straight up V. And we haven't had a V like that in a long time. But it was just kind of a variety of things that happened. But to focus on my people that struggle because there are, people that made money, and I want to make sure that like everybody is addressed, right? For my people that made money from holding the calls all the way through, that is a psychotic move. It still ended up being right? The analysis still ended up being correct. It was just the market makers played some major games. We can't control that at all. I applaud your fortitude, but at the same time, make sure you're sticking to the system, right? Once we hit that 40% level, literally cut it, right? Cut it. And then once we got that hammer on the hourly, then you can look to get back in calls, right? But overall, like it ended up working out. The analysis correct, right? You have diamond hands, but at the same time, you don't want to have those diamond hands because more often than not, you'll be better off taking the 40% loss, right? So I want to make sure that that's known for my people that held all the way through. For my people that cut, right, and you took the loss, it happens. We got a 100% play that's a winner. We have another play that doesn't work, right? Market makers want to play games. Normally with channel breakouts, that does not happen, right? Channel breakouts have paid us significantly so far this year. Yesterday, they wanted to play major games. And I saw like that was really weird price action. And it's tough, but to be honest, it just seems like whenever I'm away from the desk, the market wants to act up. So if you're just starting out, right, maybe you add that to your current personalized system. If Adam's not at the desk, I ain't trading, right? Because we start out the day with 100% play. Take that 100% play and end your day, right? Walk away. Otherwise, if you can't adapt and manage while I'm not there to walk you through, right, then just don't be involved in those trades. Because we had that double bottom where it's like, okay, we came back, we retraced the channel break. Looked like we can double bottom here. We put in a nice hammer on the 5-minute off that same support where we'd retested the break from the channel. It's like, okay, cool. This looks good to reverse. If a double bottom does not happen, what happens? It's a bear flag that fires, right? That means a double bottom is we came down, we popped, we come back, we test that same low, and we continue up. We break the middle level, right? And then we fire up. If we don't and we drop, we pop a little bit, we come back down, and then we head lower, that is a bear flag. You learn that in the course, right? So from that point, you've got to take that dynamic application of your education and say, okay, we were bullish. I know Adam might not be able to see this right now, so I got to go ahead and pivot, right? And that's the name of the game. That's why everybody that's allowed in the group has to have gone through the course, right? Because you say, okay, this was a potential double bottom. That did not work out. Now I've got to go ahead and flip sides. So I'm going to close my calls, get some puts, right? And if I don't know what to do, I'm just going to close things all together, right? And just go ahead and leave the day. At the worst, you leave the day break even because you have a big win to start the day, and then you have a win, or a lose at the end of the day. But either way, right, balances out. So the big thing is that do again what is necessary for you to do, right? Do what's necessary for you to do. If you're struggling right now, do one contract at a time. Only trade when I'm there for you to ask questions. That's your deal, right? One contract at a time, ask questions. Only trade when Adam is readily available, right? If you have the ability to pivot and to move, which a lot of you guys do, right? You'll do fine for yourselves even when I'm not there, right? But make sure that any post, especially if I'm away, comes with the caveat of if things break down, right, know how to manage. If I call out a bull flag and we don't break out after we test that bull flag breakout and we put in a shooting star, what does that mean? Get puts, right? The situation has changed. You want to make sure that you change with it, right? So today is a new day. If you weren't nimble yesterday, make sure that you remain nimble today. Those calls still ended up working out. So I only swung through, right? I held through that. What I was comfortable with holding through that. We had PLTR come through with big money 2 days ago. And then we had the 100% play to start the day yesterday. In between that, we had like a 3% loss on some puts right when we got that breakout. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm fine with holding this amount, right? While I'm going through kind of running errands, doing all this stuff. And it ended up working out, just definitely not in the way that I would have anticipated. So I wouldn't have, gone about and been like, oh yeah, definitely saw that happening, because under no circumstances did I see us straddling that downtrend that we broke out of for that low. But I do think it just reiterates that, regardless of the time frame in which it happens, those channel breakouts are something serious, right? Because we fell all the way down that low and the buyers still came in, right? Still came in big to push us back up. So the market makers knew that they owed us that pump. They just wanted to play games in order to cause max pain, right? Which is really what these past few weeks have been about, is trying to inflict maximum pain on people. Now, in terms of earnings news here, House of Mouse, and I know we've been getting like a lot more technical. Like yesterday, I was calling out exact levels. I like getting more technical here during these pre-market sessions so that everybody can kind of get their flavor, get what they need. In terms of that hourly breakout yesterday, we still closed beneath it, right? We still closed beneath it. And we still put in a long topping wick on that last hourly candle, right? So we went up, we hit that level, called that level out to take profit on the calls if you were still holding them. That ended up being the perfect level to take profit, right? So overall, the game plan still worked, just weird in between time. But I see here pre-market looks like we're losing a little bit. Being online all day is difficult for me. At night, I'm good trying to change my rhythms and go to bed earlier. Yeah, it can help sometimes. I was a former night owl. Right now, I found myself be more of like an early riser, which is good. I like that. Um, let's see here. House of Mouse. Earnings, Walt Disney. Oh, so what I was saying was that I think we got PPI data this morning too. But overall, we put in, that shooting star type of candle to end the day yesterday on the hourly. We exited those calls, right? If you stayed in them, we exited them at the perfect time at 413.72. We topped out. And it looks like we're opening lower here this morning off the back of, I think we also got data too. PPI data, I think it was. We got CPI yesterday, PPI today. So we can check that out. House of Mouse, though, let's go over Disney's earnings. Walt Disney's, ticker DIS, earnings report mostly came in as expected, but streaming losses showed some quicker moderation than anticipated, sending the stock down 5% in extended trading on Wednesday. The company's direct-to-consumer business took up much of CEO Bob Iger's commentary on the earnings call, which offered what looked like some clarity about Disney's approach to Hulu, and related that, quote, we've only just begun to scratch the surface of what we can do with advertising on Disney+. Don't forget Mouse House's fight with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Quote, this is about one thing and one thing only, and that's retaliating against us for taking a position about pending legislation, Iger declared. Quote, does the state want us to invest more, employ more, and pay more taxes or not? So this is straight up war right now between Florida and Disney is an economic powerhouse to Florida. Like, having just been in Orlando, like, Disney is built, they have a ton of land that is literally all Disney. Like, that's all, and I'm talking about like land that people are housed on, they feed people right there. Like this Disney, it's set up like a small, like really like a small nation, right? Where it's all internal, right? All Disney stuff is internal. So if you want this economic engine to leave, then they can leave. But I think that this is something where Florida and Disney both probably want to work it out because they both have a lot of money invested there. In terms of today's markets, all of this stuff is irrelevant because it was all before the data came out. It looks like we were mostly green and now we're pretty much red across the board. In terms of data here, today's economic calendar, we got initial jobless claims, 8:30 a.m. We also got producer price index, PPI data, 8:30 a.m. So let's check that out here. Reloading slowly, I guess. While that takes a second, let's go back and see if we have anyone. No, that looks like the major things. We have Waller speaking at 10:15 a.m. It's a member of the Fed, so that could, cause some movement, but we shall see, right? Unless we see any type of volatility or in a response to it, then we just assume that that has no effect on what we have going on today. Let's see. Do we have UAE? Oh, so it looks like we have no. Walter Bloomberg didn't even report on the new data. That's annoying. Normally they have the new data here. Let me see. I don't really feel like looking it up. If anybody has that, the jobless data, what was it? And the jobless claims, or the PPI data, feel free to let me know. I think I got a notification here on my phone. PPI slight miss here, 0.2% versus 0.3% estimate. All right, so PPI producer price index, a slight miss. I feel like that's positive, because PPI was less than expected. It doesn't look like the markets like that data. It might be the jobless claims data that did it as well. The jobless claims data might have had an effect there. Initial jobless claims was 264,000. Do we know what that was in relation to what was estimated? Increase of 22,000. Yeah, I'm not sure if that is more or less than what was estimated. Based off of what the market is doing, I'd venture to say that it was probably less than what was estimated for the jobless claims. Not exactly sure, but as of right now, a negative reaction that we get from it might be an amalgamation of those two pieces of data or just the jobless claims data as a whole on its own. Thank you, Vivian, by the way, for checking that out. I appreciate it. Literally, always got my back, always on top of it. Previous week's level was 242,000. Yeah, so I'm just wondering what was expected for this week. I got no idea, but in terms of this, and I don't feel like going to market or look it up because it looks like we're getting close to market open here. But overall, the market not liking that information, right? And it might be a combination of the info, but looks like literally when the data dropped, we started dropping. So we'll kind of deal with that, in terms of technical terms as we get into open. But as of right now, not looking like the market likes that information. And we also closed underneath that resistance. So, no reason why anybody had swung anything bullish into today. What else is happening? Town Hall. Trump calls for a U.S. debt default without spending cuts. Icon Enterprises, ticker IEP, under federal investigation, gives lengthy rebuke. Perrigo, ticker PRGO, over-the-counter birth control pill endorsed by FDA committees. Roblox, ticker RBLX, pops as investors applaud impressive bookings. FHFA eliminates unworkable debt-to-income ratio fee hike. Chevron, ticker CVX, plans to raise Venezuela oil output to speed debt recovery. Occidental, ticker OXY, would limit CapEx to enable buybacks if needed. Report Microsoft skips raises for employees, cuts bonuses. So Microsoft trying to trim some fat here, skipping raises and cutting bonuses. Google puts AI at center of I/O developer conference. Of course they will. Levent, ticker LTHM, to emerge with lithium miner Alchem in $10.6 billion deal. So again, lithium, literally the resource of the future. That's what all eyes are on. It will drive the growth that we see, the secular growth over the course of the next 50 years, really 100 years, right? So we'll continue to hear lithium news. Lithium will continue to be something, to keep an eye on and to be aware of. Now, in terms of news, I think that is it here for this morning, the pre-market prep for May 11th, 2023. As always, if you got any positive information, anything that was valuable from this session, just make sure you share it, right? Send this off to people. Everybody knows somebody who could be making their money work for them, unless we are all just in the circle of millionaires and billionaires, right? So we could all be sending this to somebody, having them ingrained in this community, right? And winning themselves, leveling themselves up, not only making the correct trading and investment decisions, but also the correct life decisions, right? Whether you're buying that car, buying that house, going to that school, doing all these financial big decisions at the right time is super, super important to you not ending up underwater a month, 3 months, 6 months from now, right? So we're all on our own little economic cruise line, our economic flotation device. We're making sure that we're banding together, keeping each other afloat, not just staying alive, but thriving. And that is the key. So everybody have a great rest of your day. We're ready to go out there and attack markets. I'll see you out there in the markets, and I'll see you back here tomorrow morning. I do have to get on the road tomorrow for my cousin's graduation, North Carolina A&T. Congrats to him. I don't know at what time we're doing that. I believe it will be later on, but I'll throw on my story if I'm going to be here for the pre-market prep session or not, right? We had to pivot last second, and now we have to drive. But as of right now, still on for tomorrow's pre-market prep session. All right, so pending any explanation, I'll see you guys then. Have a great rest of the day. Peace.